Welcome back. Phil, you still refereeing?
No, I don't get time, unfortunately. I'd love to because, in fact, I love to be coaching sport because I really enjoyed it. In fact, when I was the secretary of the football club, I always made sure I coached as well because, you know, you can be tired and get really frustrated about the whole administration of things. So coaching that outlet and making sure young people reach their full potential in sport is something I've got a passion for. I'm sure one day when I get a bit more time, I might go back to it.
Had a long association with your local rugby league club, the Brothers Club over at Mount Gravatt there?
Well, Brothers was out in the Grange actually.
Yeah, okay.
But I've had a fair bit to do with East Mount Gravatt Rugby League Club, which is at Mount Gravatt. But it's that Irish logic. I travelled from Mount Gravatt to the Grange, and ultimately travelled to Strathpine when I was doing uni, just so I could volunteer and be administrator of a club. But obviously still had a strong connection with the local community.
You're not the only government minister with a background in football refereeing. Is that a handy skill to have, do you think?
Oh, it is. I was a referee just at a pretty young age. I was 17 and 18, or 16 and 17 actually. So yeah, I'm sure it is a handy, maybe controlling sort of opposing views, but ultimately I think you learn a lot more skills from politics than you do probably from refereeing.
I was going to say it's handy to have that ability to ignore the catcalls coming from the crowd.
I've always had that ability. Just ask my wife.
You've got a strong family background, 3 daughters as well. Is it a hard thing for your family to, I guess, not really to deal with, but when politics takes up a lot of time? You're an early riser, you're out of bed as the sun's coming up, and oftentimes home late at night and then off again early in the morning. Is it something that your family looks upon as I'm not going to say not a positive thing because it's what you do for a living? Is it hard on your family, do you think?
Oh, look, there's no doubt it's hard. I mean, the thing is they don't know any differently because, you know, the funny thing is, like, I met my wife, I re-met my wife after I became a Member of Parliament. My children were born, obviously, while I've been in Parliament, so they don't know me as any differently as the Member for Parliament. So they're used to that life. I'm not saying that, particularly for the younger children, the 5 and 7 and 9-year-old at their age, Brianna, Ashley and Gemma, I'm not saying they love it, but I think they're proud that their dad's doing a job in the community, particularly attending their school sometimes for school events as the member of Mansfield as well. I must say I prefer just going along as a dad. Yeah. It's proud when I see them perform doing things. But I think they accept it, but they're also interested in about what I do, and I think they're willing to accept that sacrifice.
How did you meet your wife?
Funny thing is, funny as you would say, I knew her father really well. He was in the Labor Party and a really good fellow. And I re-met my wife at my father's, her father's wake, actually.
You re-met your wife?
Yeah. So I hadn't seen her for a while. Like, as in I hadn't, hadn't probably seen her for 6 or 7 years. Yeah. And then her father actually passed away, and I went to the funeral and to the wake. And as luck would happen, I was looking to move out of home and look for a unit place, and she had a spare room for me and my mate in a townhouse she was renting. And as things would happen, we ended up getting married a couple of years later.
Been together ever since?
I've been together ever since.
Wow. There's an election coming up. Mm-hmm. A lot closer now than it was a month ago. You going to stand again?
I'll be standing again, yes. Yeah. And look, it's going to be tough, it's going to be hard, but I know that what I've done for the local community, I hope, has been appreciated, and I'll continue to work hard, but ultimately it's the decision of the local people. They know that I've lived nowhere else. I eat, breathe and every day about Mansfield and the community of Upper Marrickville and Wishart, and I continue to work hard for them. But ultimately, the choice will be for the people of Queensland, and we know we've got a tough job on our hands.
Do you have a plan B?
No, I think if you start thinking about plan B, then you take your eye off the ball. In sporting terms, if you start thinking about next week's game, then you've lost this week's. And I think you need to focus on the job at hand, and it's going to be tough, both statewide and also locally. As I said earlier, I only won my first election by 83 votes. So I've been in government ever since. Lucky in that way. It's sort of like a government seat. It's very a litmus test. Mansfield always has been.
Very much.
And if you look at the pendulum, it's virtually if they win Mansfield, they're likely to win government, the opposition. But I'm confident that when people have to make their decision, they'll make the decision on who they can trust to better equip Queensland for the future, and locally who they trust to make their representations on the big issues. And even the small issues in the local patch. Someone that's lived there all their life and really is standing for that area because they want to, not just for political expediency.
With Mansfield being that litmus test as such, does it put more pressure on you? Does it change the way your colleagues relate to you in the lead up to an election? Having been through a couple.
Yeah, look, I think this will be my 6th election, I think.
Wow,
yeah. If arithmetic is right today. Look, there's always pressure on election. Election is the hardest thing to describe. You know, your job is really, as you said, very variety from waking up early. But election is no one can describe it. It's like the biggest job interview of your life. You've got to convince 30,000 people, or at least half of those 1,000 people. So about 15,000 people that you're the best person for that job. And then you've got to do whatever means to try and convince those people that occurs. And that happens every 3 years or so. And you won't know until, you know, the polls close at 6 o'clock, and then it might be a few hours or it could be a few days, like happened in my first election. It is a really tough experience. The hardest experience of any political career is that time from the moment the polls go to those first votes come in. It is the most nerve-wracking for any politician. If anyone tells you any differently, they're lying, because it's you know, there's nothing more you can do. You sit back and waiting for that first result to find out what's in it, what's your life going to be for the next 3 years. Having
stood and been through those number of elections, is it a process that you look forward to? Do you change your approach?
Oh, campaigning is really, really. I love it. I love being out there on the grassroots, pressing the flesh, going out there talking to people, which you do during your term. But it's all focused in there. It brings all your marketing skills out that you've learnt. This time will be different as well, because not only with the local patch in, I've also responsibility of Minister for Child Safety and Minister for Sport. So there'll be all that sort of mixing challenges as well, which I'm looking forward to as well.
It's going to be an interesting couple of months.
Certainly it's going to be interesting 2012, and look forward to the challenge. And ultimately, the people of my community will choose whether they want me for another 3 years, and ultimately the people of Queensland will choose whether they want Anna Bligh and the Labor team to continue the good work for Queensland.
Phil Reeves, we thank you for your time and wish you well.
Thanks, and thanks for having me here.
That's my pleasure. My name is Sean Bindley, and you've been watching Meet the Ministers. Look forward to joining you again next week.